Bruce, Lisa's been quoting you all morning. That quote is the sound that you hear as a narrative cracking. How does this data inform that view?
Well, I think it's pretty supportive of that view on a number of fronts. Obviously, the one that people have been most focused on today is the inflation news, and certainly we got a more distributed, outcome of that surprise. It wasn't all in the March number, but the March number at 0.317 on an unrounded core is still pretty darn firm. I haven't seen all of the details as how that's distributed. I don't think the super core services were that high, at least what I see. But the basic point here is this is no longer something you can explain as just the beginning of the year pop. But I also emphasize two other things. One is, as you look at the data on income and spending here, we're getting very strong wage numbers. And I think there's probably some pressure here on wage inflation as well as there is the strong income numbers. We'll see the employment cost index report for the first quarter next week. And then the other thing here is we did have a squeeze on incomes to some degree, both for taxes and higher energy prices in Q1. And consumers held up pretty darn well. And one of the reasons is the savings rate went down. The savings rate is 3.2% in March. And I think that's a message that wealth effects are moving here. So there's both a story here about the economy holding up very well with high interest rates, as well as inflation pressures being persistent. And while I don't think it's right to talk about this from the point of view of Fed tightening, I think the case for Fed easing here is pretty small anytime soon. We'll see where we are 6 months from now. But certainly the Fed's going to have to change its tune about its view that there's a fair amount of easing that's coming down the road.
I would just add that real personal spending actually increased to 0.5% from 0.4%, even though it was expected to fall. Bruce, given the fact that we're seeing or hearing that sound of the narrative cracking, what's the new narrative? Is it just no rate cuts in your case?
Well, I think the clear part of the new narrative is high for long on rates. The question is, where does that take us? And we've been actually struggling with that. We have kind of two scenarios we think are both reasonable. One, we've been calling boil the frog, which is high interest rates do weigh on performance. They do start to create vulnerability on balance sheets, particularly the business sector side. And that causes problems for us, not now, but maybe 6 or 12 months from now. The second one is we find out that we actually can live with higher interest rates, that we've had better supply side performance. The economy is in an underlying resilient position, and that actually this is a new world. And we should understand that the economy has higher interest rates and is sustainable. Between those two right now, I think there's really support for both and some of the things we're seeing. And we're not trying to take a strong call on what the new narrative is going to be.